Humanity has literally just crossed the ultimate cosmic threshold. Think about it. The stars we're looking up at tonight, they're no longer just distant twinkling lights. They are our actual next destinations. The whole idea of Earth being the center of civilization is officially over. We aren't just talking about crossing oceans or hopping over to neighboring planets in our solar system anymore. We're talking about the big leap. So let me hit you with this. What if humans colonize another galaxy? And soon. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. Earth is no longer the only place where human history is being written. What happens when the species that completely conquered its homeworld suddenly begins building a brand new one in an entirely new cosmic neighborhood?
Section 1. Crossing the Cosmic Threshold. A massive paradigm shift.
To really wrap our heads around this paradigm shift, we have to compare what we currently dream of, local planetary colonization, with the mind-bending reality of reaching whole island universes. Look, Mars is a mere 140 million miles away. It's basically our cosmic backyard puddle. But the Andromeda galaxy, that is 2.5 million light-years away. We're talking about jumping from a puddle into a completely unfathomable, endless ocean of space.
And when we say a new galaxy, we aren't just talking about finding a new planet. We're talking about trillions of new stars, trillions of planets, vast dust clouds, intense radiation fields, and entirely new worlds of possibilities. The sheer magnitude of that destination is just staggering.
Okay, let's dive into this. To cross a gap that incredibly massive, our current rockets look like literal toys. We would need to fundamentally bend space-time itself. We're talking engineering stable wormholes, constructing massive generation ships that essentially act as moving, self-contained civilizations, or even deploying autonomous AI fleets for a slow, steady intergalactic migration. But here's the reality check for when we actually arrive. Those first human footprints, they aren't going to be in giant, gleaming sci-fi metropolises. Not at all. They will be fragile, intensely critical seeds. Things like heavily protected habitat stations, robotic survey networks, and bioengineered domes. The first colonists will be true pioneers, where every single breath they take, every working life support module, is a massive, hard-fought victory.
Section 2. Politics of the New Frontier. Competing Interests.
Now, as you can probably guess, an incredible technological triumph like this immediately sparks massive tension back home, because everyone wants a piece of this new reality. As you can see here, Earth governments are going to instantly argue over jurisdiction and strategic importance. Mega corporations, they'll fight tooth and nail for exclusive resource contracts and leverage. Ideological movements would demand representation, and ordinary people, they're mostly just going to want a stable life, desperate to avoid becoming pawns in some giant galactic power game.
Which creates an absolutely fierce political bottleneck right out of the gate. Who actually gets to go first? Are we sending our absolute best scientists and engineers, wealthy entrepreneurs who funded the trip, or desperate refugees needing a new home? You see, the raw politics of who gets to migrate will completely define this new age long before the first foundation is ever poured in that distant galaxy.
The stars do not erase human nature. They magnify it. Let's just pause and think about that for a second. When we pack up our bags and cross that vast cosmic void, we don't just magically leave our flaws behind. We bring our oldest habits, our deepest divisions, and our heavy history straight into these new worlds with us. Moving on to Section 3, the new galactic economy, changing the face of scarcity. The ripple effects of a settlement way beyond the Milky Way, they would absolutely upend the global economy forever. We'd see this explosive emergence of entirely new industries, extreme life support, advanced radiation shielding, autonomous robotics, xenobiology, and intergalactic communications. Earth's entire financial market would have to rapidly reorganize to support this truly boundless new frontier. We're talking about a frontier large enough to absorb generations of investment, fundamentally changing the very concept of scarcity. Just imagine if rare metals were suddenly as common as dirt. This sheer scale of possibility creates untold new forms of wealth, massive new centers of power, and inevitably, deep, complex new economic inequalities. Section 4. Surviving the intergalactic shift. The deep psychological toll. Imagine, for a second, a child born in this new galaxy. Their entire psychological horizon is completely severed from an Earth-born child.
They look up at a totally different sky, they measure time by a totally different calendar, and their core sense of home is completely alien to ours. Over generations, shifting languages, art, and social norms will slowly but permanently separate them from us. It's fascinating, but also kind of heartbreaking. Meanwhile, back home, Earth transitions from being the bustling center of civilization to, well, an old capital. It becomes this ancestral cradle, a place of historical pilgrimage, kind of like the old world was to early maritime colonists. There's a bittersweet nostalgia to it, right? Earth is no longer the whole story of humanity. The very species we created will have, in many ways, outgrown us. But, with that kind of incredible expansion comes some major vulnerability. How do you actually protect a colony that remote from sabotage, piracy, or just straight-up political coercion? This introduces some truly terrifying military implications. If we can reach another galaxy, does war simply become intergalactic in scale? And this brilliantly illustrates how physics itself will dictate intergalactic governance. If we somehow develop instant communication, Earth could potentially maintain complex real-time control. But if we are strictly bound by the speed of light, where a simple hello sent to Andromeda takes 2.5 million years to arrive, these colonies will absolutely be forced to develop an intense, highly adaptive autonomy completely independent of Earth governments. Which brings us to Section 5, the ultimate human test, the ethical and existential challenges. Because then there is the great unknown, the ultimate question. What if we aren't alone in this new galaxy? Even if we settle in what looks like empty space, discovering other intelligence would instantly dwarf literally every political and economic issue we've discussed today. It would completely force humanity to redefine its place on a truly cosmic scale. Naturally, all of this sparks a fierce, deeply polarizing debate back home. On one side, champions view this project as the glorious, necessary next step for our species. On the flip side, critics view it as an irresponsible, almost criminal distraction, arguing we have no business dreaming of other galaxies while Earth still struggles so much with climate, poverty, and injustice. And frankly, both sides make remarkably compelling points. Ultimately, as we look at the source material, we're faced with two wildly distinct possible futures. The best version? That's a cooperating network of stewardship, respecting life and diversity without destroying what it touches. But the worst version is a dark mirror of our own past, aggressive new colonialism, ruthless resource extraction, and deep systemic inequality. Technology doesn't magically make our choices wiser, it just makes the consequences a whole lot bigger. So it really boils down to this. The question isn't whether we can get there, it's what we become once we do. I'll leave you with that haunting thought to provoke your own conclusions about our cosmic destiny. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep asking the impossible questions.